I've been on the team now for just over 5 years and been working in the sort of branded entertainment sphere for all of that time. And I think things have changed quite dramatically since I started. 5 or 6 years ago, there was more of a sort of model of like the old sort of TV sponsorship. So brands might see something cool being done and want to badge their brand around it and be cool by association. And that has changed dramatically over the last few years. It's much more about kind of integrating across multiple platforms, but actually taking the message behind the brand and really understanding that and then creating content that's around that. I think there's obvious trends that you can talk about. Obviously, mobile as well is key, and so brands want to create content that can be accessed wherever the audience is, whatever time of day and whatever platform they're on. Again, this is all fairly standard stuff, but it does make a big difference to us when we're thinking about how we can create it and how it can live across different platforms. More focus on celebrities and I think celebrities historically were quite reluctant to get involved with brands. They just sort of saw a big paycheck at the end of it, but actually some of the brands now are doing some really great stuff, and you can see big stars being aligned with brands that you never would do. So I think that's quite an interesting area as well, and that's something that we see a lot of now.
Incentivization, so getting something for consuming the content. Where brands are moving to now is to try and understand, how do we engage an audience when we don't have to give them something or disrupt them? And that is a trend that's been happening for a while now, but we are really seeing brands understand. And that's come from brands putting the consumer at the center of what they do rather than the brand themselves. The second trend that we're really seeing is around brand utility. What are we doing for an audience that is giving them some type of value? So can I walk away from this experience feeling like I've learned something new or I'm a better person? And I don't mean that necessarily in a self-improvement sense, but if I engage with this brand or I engage with this content, am I going to walk away feeling good or taking something away rather than just, this has wasted 5 minutes of my time? How do we use social in a way that is not gratuitous or just seen as another layer because it's what I call the GMOOT, the get me one of those? If every client says, oh yeah, this brand's doing that, I also want to do that, it's probably a recipe for failure. So how do we use social in a way that we know it can be a success, but without it being gratuitous?
Understanding what audiences do, consumers are doing on the web, what they're doing on our products and platforms, how they're jumping from network to network or platform to platform. How can we actually touch base with them? How can we connect with them on a regular basis, daily, weekly, monthly? How can we integrate branded experiences and content stories and scenarios into the world of advertising alongside these consumers' daily lifestyles? The challenge is that we have to play a part or a role when we produce these experiences. What are we trying to achieve? What's the objective? Why are we trying to do it? How can it reach them? How can it inspire them? Some trending scenarios that we've been working on recently, of course, is the search optimization. How we actually then filter and seed campaigns. The other thing is, in actual fact, is amplification. Success criteria. Does this win any awards? Is it worthy of an award before it's even entered? How good is it? Can we seed it? What's the PR ramifications of this campaign? Do people want to talk about it? And if they start talking about it, then we know we're in a success criteria division straight away.
Big global work that actually resonates in different markets, but showing the economy to scale of being a central sort of contact for that. Editorial integration, meaningful content, and working very closely with our editors and, working as for the Microsoft audience or for the brand audience and respecting that as opposed to just forcing a message. The audience these days, they know they're being advertised to. There's no point hiding that. We should celebrate that, but we should also be responsible for making the best content as we possibly can, or a best experience as we possibly can.
The ability to ideate and execute on integrated programs is key. From our perspective, integration is multifaceted. We consider, for example, 5 levels to that integration. The first is the ability to contemplate multi-platforms. In our case, both platforms from Microsoft, but also from third parties. In addition, we think about POEM, paid, owned and earned media, and how those can come together and really form a synergy within the solution. Third aspect is multi-screen and multinational. Both have to be contemplated. We have worked to develop our expertise in how to do that in a very synchronized manner. In addition, increasingly we're concerned with PR and social. And from a public relations point of view, we're thinking about it in trade terms, but increasingly in consumer terms as well. And then finally, and it may surprise people to hear a digital publisher saying this, but we do really contemplate the context of the digital work more broadly. And so we have to consider both online and offline dimensions and how they're woven together. Right from the beginning of the program, we collaborate with agencies and clients to do that well. And the results have been very impressive in that regard.